Hiring junior developers sounds like the smart move for early-stage founders. They're cheaper, motivated, and eager to learn. But while it feels like progress and everything is moving, your startup can quietly be pulled in the wrong direction. In this video, I'll explain when junior hires slow momentum and when they make sense. The hidden cost: senior time, not junior salary. Even if a junior developer's salary looks cheap, there is the most expensive part that you'll never see on your P&L, and it's the speed. Speed is oxygen in software. Every hour of senior developer time should move the product forward. But when senior engineers stop building to become full-time mentors, product velocity drops really fast. This hidden cost is mentorship overhead. For every junior hire, senior engineers typically spend at least 30 to 60 minutes a day answering questions, pairing, reviewing code, and providing guidance. That's the time your highest paid builders aren't shipping features. And surprise, that time investment comes with zero warranty. A junior developer might never deliver to your desired standard, require rework, or write code that seniors end up redoing. I have lived through it in a startup where seniors were so frustrated they just decided to rewrite everything themselves because it was faster than coaching and fixing someone else's spaghetti code. There is even a classic principle in software project management known as Brook's law. Adding manpower, including less experienced engineers, to a late project can make it later, because the cost of bringing them up to speed and integrating them actually slows progress. So, before you hire, do the math. Take your senior engineer's hourly cost and multiply it by the weekly mentoring time. Then, compare that to what same hours would produce if they were spent shipping features instead. For most early-stage startups, the conclusion is uncomfortable but clear. Bias hiring towards senior engineers who can operate independently and own major parts of the product. And if you do bring in juniors, treat mentoring as deliberate investment, not as a side quest squeezed into already overloaded days. Ramp-up time versus startup timelines. No one, not even the best of us, know how long it really takes for junior developers to become useful. And by the time you figure it out, you'll notice a big chunk of runway is already gone. Startups operate on tight timelines with aggressive goals, so losing weeks or months to ramp up can mean missed launches and failed fundraising. Junior developers often need at least 6 weeks or even more before they can contribute meaningfully to critical code. And that ramp up requires documentation, onboarding, shadowing, and consistent supervision. All the things the early stage start teams simply don't have. A simple test helps clarify the risk. If this person needs 2 or 3 months to be fully productive, can the startup afford that delay? Before product market fit, it is usually safer to hire people who can ship real value in the first months and delay junior hires until processes and priorities are more stable and tasks are more simple. Negative productivity and expensive tech debt. Here is how adding more people to the team can actually slow a startup down. Early code is a foundation code, and mistakes made here are expensive to fix later. Very expensive, sometimes even non-repairable. When junior developers are added too early, overall productivity can actually go negative because senior engineers slow down to answer questions and review work, juniors ship more bugs and shaky design decisions, and those same seniors later have to refactor and rewrite the code. Over time, rework and tech debt quietly eat future sprints and drain morale. To avoid this, protect core architecture and critical path by reserving them for your most experienced engineer. This is actually rule number 1, especially if you are not a technical founder. If juniors are involved, limit them to low-risk areas or internal tools with strong review gates, and regularly assess whether their work is actually saving time or costing it over a 3 to 6 months window. And if you are rolling your eyes now and thinking it's a technical matter and a problem of your tech lead, trust me, it is absolutely not. It is a pure managerial choice. The experience and decision-making gap. This gap is subtle, but this is why some teams keep running into the same problem over and over. Startups live in ambiguity, unclear spec, edge cases, urgent decisions with incomplete information, and bad judgment in these moments can derail roadmaps and damage user trust. Junior developers usually lack the pattern recognition that comes from having lived through failures, outages, and hard trade-offs. So they tend to struggle when everything is fuzzy and time-sensitive. They need tight scope and clear instructions, which early-stage startups rarely have. The problem gets worse when founders themselves are still learning, because you're kind of pairing expert beginner with junior. To reduce this risk, at least one senior engineer should own system design, debugging, and prioritization. Juniors are far more effective later once the problem space is clear and there are playbooks to follow. Training them to leave the retention risk. Even if you do everything right with junior developers, there is one last punch in the gut that can still land. Startups rely on compounding knowledge. Every week someone stays, they get faster, make better decisions, and carry more context in their head. When that person leaves, the clock literally resets. All the speed you thought you were building evaporates overnight, just like that. And this is where juniors are especially risky. Once they've upskilled on your dime, many move on. That's just the reality. They get higher salary offers from bigger companies. They want to try different tech stack, a different product, or a different work culture. So you spend months mentoring, reviewing, and correcting, only to start from zero again when they leave. The result is brutal. You didn't just lose a person, you lost the investment. The mentoring time, the slowed velocity, the seniors' attentions, all written off with no return. If you're crazy enough and going to invest heavily in junior hires, you need a retention plan that's just as intentional as the hiring itself. Clear progression path, meaningful equity, real growth projects that make staying more attractive than leaving. And at the very earliest stages, prioritize people who are likely to stay through key milestones from MVP to market fit. Finally, track the uncomfortable metric most founders really try to avoid. The metric is the time you invest in someone compared to how long they stick around. If the time you put in doesn't pay itself back before people churn, your startup is in trouble. Now, when junior developers do make sense. So does this mean you should never hire junior developers? Not at all. This is where the nuance matters. Juniors can become loyal, long-term team members, and occasionally you get the rare outlier, someone insanely talented, deeply loyal, and grateful for the early opportunity. The kind of person who grows with the company and becomes a cornerstone of the team. That absolutely happens. The mistake founders make is planning as if they get that person by default. This is just not how it works. Junior hiring only works consistently once your startup has the system, structure, and breathing room to support it. Most juniors tend to succeed under very specific conditions: mentorship, mature culture, and stable product with clear architecture and steady roadmap. When those conditions are in place, juniors stop slowing you down and start compounding value. The right way to think about junior hiring is as a bench building strategy, not a survival mode. Use juniors once your core product is stable and your architecture is mostly locked in. And if you happen to find that rare, loyal, highly talented junior along the way, it's amazing, but never build your hiring strategy around that exception. The AI twist. Are juniors becoming viable sooner? On paper, AI tools look like a gift to junior developers. They can accelerate learning, reduce grunt work, and help juniors solve problems without constantly pinging senior engineers. And after digging into how teams are experimenting with this, there are signals that it can work, especially on the back end when patterns are more repeatable and mistakes are easier to catch in reviews. But here's where my personal startup experience diverges. AI doesn't always help junior developers, and in many cases it does the opposite, because it gives them the impression that they are far more capable than they actually are. They can generate code, ship things that look correct, and feel productive, while still lacking the underlying skills to reason about edge cases, architecture, performance, or long-term maintainability. And this problem is much worse on the front end, where AI is less capable. The idea people are testing right now is an AI native junior, someone who knows how to use LLMs and tooling to debug, generate boilerplate, and learn patterns faster. But this is still a minority view, I think, because most founders I've seen treat junior plus AI as an experiment and not a guarantee. If you do try this route, it needs guidelines. Pair juniors with strong seniors' oversight on architecture and code reviews. Use AI for exploration and learning, but gate all critical code through experienced eyes. And most importantly, measure whether AI actually reduces the amount of senior time required or whether it just changes the shape of the work from basic questions to heavier reviews and rewrite. This is super important. Because if AI just makes junior confident faster without making them better, you haven't solved the problem, you've just hidden it. So let's conclude. For most early stage startups, the winning move isn't hiring cheaper, it's hiring stronger. 100% proven. Fewer senior engineers will get you faster, further than a room of full juniors ever will. Train later, survive first. And most likely, if you're hiring juniors to save your startup, you're probably too late. Thanks for listening. If this clarified your hiring strategy, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your biggest challenge hiring developers right now.